Pitchside. What a game we had at BMO. 2-0 loss to New York City FC. You saw that coming, right?
Not at all. But you know what? They can't win them all, I guess, right? 3 in a row was kind of pushing it.
Well, this team's never won 4 in a row. It's the lucky number 4 that just seems to escape this Toronto FC side at all times. I think this was actually the 4th time that they've won 3 in a row. So
this was the most frustrating performance of the year. Even more so than the Houston game, I'd say.
By the way, we should probably tell the people that you're Marco Cabani D'Onofrio. I'm Dan Riccio, the man on the mic and the camera.
But they already know that by now.
I guess they do, but you know, just to make sure.
Producer Boz.
It's still a fairly new show. But this was the worst game I've seen at the new BMO Field. Worse than Houston. This was tough to watch.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the second half of last season where you just wanted to pull your hair out. What little hair I have left, that is.
Yeah, it was, just maddening. The way New York always seemed to start and stop the game. Anytime TFC got any kind of momentum, they were hacked down. It was pure, lesser talented side on the road looking for any way to get a win, and they did it. Fouls, frustrating TFC, maybe a fortunate call on the handball against Benoit Cheyrou, and they took their chances when they got them.
So basically Italian football?
Old Italian football.
They grinded it out and they got the result they wanted, and they frustrated the heck out of Toronto FC.
Yep.
As we saw at the end of the game when tempers just floor, and we saw the results of that. But is Vandy right in what he said post-game? If you don't know, he basically said he's pissed off, frustrated, and that the league needs to protect its better players, especially a guy like Giovinco.
Yeah, we could talk about MLS refereeing until we're blue in the face. It is what it is. Like, Greg Vandy's not making any unbelievable revelations that MLS refereeing needs to be better. I wouldn't say that Alan Chapman was horrible in this game.
I would. I would.
Okay, you would.
And I think 30, was it 28,000 or 30,000?
Yeah, but they're fans.
We still don't know.
They're homers. They're obviously going to look for every penalty call and hope that it goes their way. The one thing I will say, probably if you're going to give the handball on Cheyrou, you got to give it the other way to New York City FC.
That's my point. Is there was zero consistency in this game, and that I think is the frustrating thing. Where you're right, if you're going to make these calls, it's a very choppy game, very start stop. If you're going to ref that way, fine, but you got to be consistent in the way, and that's what we did not see tonight. And I think that's why. You're right, they are homers. But I think that's why fans are so frustrated, and I think that's why Greg Vandy was so frustrated.
Well, I just want to say one thing behind the camera. I've never put my camera down so many times in one game as a photographer than I did this guy. So I'm not lying. I put my camera probably down 15 times.
But that's the game New York City wanted to play, and TFC played right into their hands. TFC didn't have an answer for it. They did for I would say the last 25 minutes of the first half and maybe the first 5 to 10 of the second half. That was the best of TFC that we got tonight. Other than that, they were frustrated. They didn't know how to get around New York. They didn't know what was the best way through, and they were just constantly frustrated. Foul after foul after foul. But, this could be a whole different game. If Saunders doesn't make 2 huge saves towards the end of the first half.
Saunders was probably the player of the match. Well, in the first half. TFC was the better team in that first half. Make no mistake about it. Second half, though, they lacked the flair that they needed, and they lacked the creativity. And once that second goal went in, they had zero life in them. And they're frustrated. Yeah. Question now becomes, does TFC have to do more themselves to protect a guy like Giovinco? Because he was hacked and torn apart. And yeah, the referee's got to make some calls, but this TFC need to take things and matters into their own hands.
This was a weird game because we didn't see a lot of the fight that we've seen in weeks past from guys like Cheyrou, from guys like Warner, even from Giovinco. Just because he was MLS Player of the Week twice in a row, it doesn't mean he gets a pass here. He wasn't moving. He didn't have the same work rate that he had before the bye week. And I asked Greg Vandy flat out, did the bye week do more harm than good to this team? And he said yes. It totally ruined our rhythm. It totally ruined our momentum. It's not an excuse. He was just being honest.
Now, Dan, I was in the NYCFC locker room where it was an absolute party. You were in the TFC one, though. So before we talk about the visitors and their celebrations, what was
were they
it
listening
like?
to, Drake?
Oh, trust me, it was a Drake party. And you're going to find out when we talk to Mick Diskerud later on in the show. But
It's a problem. He's MLSC ambassador.
what?
Just throwing it in the face.
What was that? That's
Face.
exactly what it was. In the face. But what was the TFC locker room like? Because I can only imagine.
It was pretty nasty. Like, it was not healthy. It was certainly not like any of the 3 wins that we saw prior to the bye week last week. It was hostile at times. Damien Perquis taking it out on his own locker, slamming the doors and whipping his name right off the locker. So it was a bit testy at times. And look, we didn't really get to talk to many of them. They were all pretty gone out the window, gone with the wind by the time we got down there. And Michael Bradley, being the captain that he is, was out there, stood up to the media, didn't make any bones, didn't make any excuses, basically said, you know, if we're playing our game and if we're doing the things that we can do like we showed for spurts in this game, then we're not even here talking about the tactics that New York City employed during this match.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we are. And
Yeah.
we are talking about the tactics they deployed. But as you alluded to, that's the game plan coming into the match, and they executed it perfectly.
Yeah.
We spoke to Mick Diskerud, American international New York City FC midfielder. Well, what won the Drake in the locker room post game? Was that just a Toronto FC win kind of party?
His
Or-
great hair?
Great hair? No.
Oh.
But we did touch upon.
That's for somebody else with MLS.
We did touch upon what he's going to be doing on a Saturday night here in Toronto after a massive victory. Mix. Disco. Mix touches Drake in the post-game celebrations. Is that just because you beat Toronto FC, or is that usually what's blaring in the locker room?
I think it's more of a coincidence. We like Drake, and we listen to him a lot. At least when we win games.
Yeah, big game here. What was just your thoughts on the stadium, the crowd, the atmosphere?
Oh, it was incredible. I came here yesterday for the first time, and it's an incredible city. Met some friends, and today nice atmosphere. A lot of people coming out to support their team. We had some of our supporters up on the corner there, so it's nice, and it was a lot of fun to play here.
Did you get a little bit more amped up knowing you're playing fellow Americans and Josie Altidore and Michael Bradley, even Robert Finley?
I don't think I'll play differently, but it's of course nice to see fellow teammates, you can say, people I know. So it's always fun to do that. But once you're on the pitch, you don't really think about it too much. Once the ball goes out of bounds and stuff, you can say hi to them, but it's full concentration.
Pretty physical game out there. One of the more physical games you've been involved with?
Yeah, I mean it's soccer, so it happens sometimes. But at the end we won, so we're happy. And of course Toronto ain't that happy right now, and it's always going to be some frustration because you want to win a game. But I think it's all good now.
How are you feeling? I know we saw you hobbling off, especially after Wednesday's big game. You played 120 minutes there. So how are you feeling physically?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, quite fatigued right now. It's been a lot of games, a lot of traveling the past 2 weeks, so it's going to be nice to get some rest, be in New York, and maybe hit the beach with some friends, Connor over here. Just take it easy, not think about soccer for the next days.
Post-game meal. What's your mix of food that you're going to right now?
Oh, I have no idea. I eat what they serve me, but maybe I'll do some dessert with some Nutella and bread.
Good call. Tim Hortons actually has a Nutella donut now.
Oh, yeah?
Fantastic. And one last thing, just Saturday night in Toronto, you got any big plans?
I got some friends out here, so I'm going to reach out to them, and we're probably going to have not too much fun, but a little bit of fun with the friends right now. Everybody's happy in a good mood.
Congratulations. You're in good. So, if you do see Mix in the drive-thru at Tim Hortons behind you or someone who looks like him, chances are it is him because that Nutella donut and Nutella pocket seems right up his alley.
I gotta say, I'm kind of pissed that I wasn't there for the Mix interview. But one of us had to do TFC, go into the funeral locking room. So he did play 120 minutes.
He did.
In the U.S. Open Cup, big New York derby with the Cosmos.
Just off topic, but is it a coincidence that all of a sudden the Cosmos drew the Red Bulls in the next round? Come on, people.
They love the New York derby.
Sepp Blatter was the one pulling out the names.
I'm waiting for them to have like a Tim Cup, where they do a little 3-team tournament on the off season between the New York sides, like they do in Italy sometimes with Inter, Juve, and Milan. But yeah, we're wasting time here. So U.S. Open Cup, good thing. I wanted to bring it up because of the Clint Dempsey situation. We talked about it a little bit on the last show. Him ripping. We played the audio for you as well. Him ripping the book in half, and it was shocking to see a player do that to a referee.
Especially a Clint Dempsey like that.
And as much as we complain about the referees, you absolutely, positively cannot do that. So what does MLS do? 3-game suspension. Really?
For ripping up a referee.
That's okay. Like it's abuse to the referee.
Yeah.
You have to be giving a harsh
Yeah.
penalty for that. I don't know if it's 1 month or 3 months, but you got to go harder than 3 games. What kind of precedent are you setting?
Well, here's my question, though. Does that fall on the MLS or
Yes,
the
it
U.S.
does.
Soccer Association? Because it wasn't an MLS match. So should the U.S. Soccer Association not take it upon themselves and ban this guy for... But you know why they're not doing that?
Gold Cup.
Gold Cup.
It just smells so bad
You
that
mean-
they didn't go harsher on him because they want him for the Gold Cup. That's what everybody's thinking. The MLS pro referees, the union there, they're flat out pissed about this, and they have every right to be. If one of the TFC players, we know how frustrated they were tonight. If one of them did that, what kind of suspension are we looking at for them? If Damien Perquis goes in and grabs Alan Chapman's book tonight and rips it in half, what kind of suspension is he getting? He doesn't have the same kind of clout Clint Dempsey has. You're making a really, really bad precedent with this.
With that said, though, he's still got more than Vidal did for driving his Ferrari into a fuck.
And endangering people's lives.
Yes.
Okay, so
Just
yeah,
gonna
kind
leave
of
it at
perspective there, which is nice. But back to the referees, and in this match, I found it weird that TFC had 18 fouls and New York had 16. Although I wasn't, TFC can't blame this match on the ref because they flat out weren't good enough for a full 90 minutes.
Especially the second half. They were terrible.
And bad defensive mistakes led to them going down. So you can't really make a whole lot out of that. But New York were certainly the more aggressive team, the more physical team. And I'm shocked looking at the stat sheet and seeing 18 for TFC to 16 for New York, who did have more yellow cards, though, in the game.
On a positive note, though, Dwayne De Rosario, the testimonial match.
Yeah, it was interesting to be here for that. Good on everybody who showed up. Obviously, the South section, always amazing.
Sure.
And
They had to
D-Ro
sh-
showed
they
his...
had to sh-
Yeah.
Well, they had to show him for that Danny Dickio cracker. And then the D-Ro.
He scored in the 24th minute? I can't remember.
Scored in the first. Yeah.
So the South section, you guys all got to shake D-Ro's hand after the game because, he is a legend of this field and a legend of this team and a legend of Canadian soccer. It was a nice little send-off, and I'll be honest, cake in the media room,
Yes.
halftime, shout out TFC for putting that together because we thoroughly enjoyed.
And it wasn't the
that
stingy,
cake.
the Costco cake that you could buy for like $10.
No, it was a good cake.
With strawberries. It was very well done. So thank you to the whole TFC PR guys for making sure that you thought of us.
But better have some on Wednesday against Montreal.
That probably some leftovers maybe. Montreal coming up. How important is that, especially after their win today? Because now they're 2 points behind with the game in hand, so they can actually pass TFC with the victory on Wednesday night here.
It's huge, and they have a few games in hand. Montreal's probably
one
been
on us, but
Yeah.
a few on the rest of the league.
They're certainly one of the surprises so far in the MLS season. I don't know what to say about them. It's always a tough match. And the 401 Derby is going to be great. It's my favorite match to watch here at BMO Field. I can't wait for it, and it's on Wednesday night. It's going to be great.
And shout out to the crowd that came out because this was probably it was the best atmosphere, hands down. Of
But
the
let's be
season
honest.
thus far.
Big crowds seems like big letdowns for
0
TFC.
points.
This team's got to step up. When the hype's starting to get around this team, expectations are going in. Just flat out letdown, and it's you can just feel the air get sucked out of this place, and it's disappointing.
And it's huge because not only do they have Montreal on Wednesday, which is a massive game, they also have DC United on Saturday, which is just as pivotal for this team. So
And then it's Gold Cup. No Ashton, no Oso, no Bradley, no Altidore.
By the way, also did his best Giovinco impression today because he deserved a goal after that, and Giovinco just had his shot.
Shout out to Oso for those moves, and we hope to see more of them on Wednesday. I'm Dan Riccio.
Mark with an eye for you.
Amandelic on Twitter.
Mix Diskerud somewhere.
Oh, yeah. At TFC_Pitchside. You want to leave us a comment here on YouTube, please do so. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you think. What'd you think of Alan Chapman?
Hate him.
Peace.
Yeah.